Guys, welcome back to Before the First Cast. Do we have a great episode for you guys today? Guys, happy Friday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. I'm so glad you guys are here to tune in to the Basscast Radio for Before the First Cast. Guys, we're going to talk about something today that really hasn't been around our area in a very long time, and that is a professional league has came to a local body of water here pretty close to us. The professionals have not been here in many years, so it's a very big deal for the bass fishing world here in Central Virginia and Virginia as a whole. And we're going to talk about my thoughts about the pros coming to Virginia, my thoughts about the competition as this far. So, guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, the the event I am talking about currently is the Bass Pro Tour has come with their heavy hitters events, which it's very different from anything that really we've seen before. Um, so Major League Fishing, which used to be, for my people who may not know this, used to be the FLW. Um, it was bought out by Boyd Duckett and is now called Major League Fishing. It's different kind of series for professionals because it's not your normal five bass weigh 'em like Bassmaster. They do a series that all bass count. They have to be a certain weight. I believe it's a 2 pound minimum. And they do different rounds. And the way it works is for a normal event, they would have all their anglers and they have to go through a qualifying round, and then they go to a knockout round, which would knock other anglers out if they don't make it past the cut line, and then whoever makes it through the cut line goes to the championship round. Um, so in this event that came here locally to Smith Mountain Lake is called Heavy Hitters, and I'm kind of going to go through what Heavy Hitters is, and what you can do to really win or get yourself in position to win. So this format only brings 15 pros that have qualified from 2024 to whether that I think they had to catch a big bass in a qualifying event for that day. Um, so there's 30 pros here. They're split up into two groups, Group A and Group B. The first day of competition, 15 anglers, which would be Group A, go out and compete. And then their total weight will transfer over to qualifying day three, is when they fish again. Um, every scoreable bass counts, but it has to be a minimal scoreable weight of 2 pounds. And then second day is a qualifying round as well, which the group B goes out and fishes the second day. And it's the same thing in that qualifying, your total qualifying weight goes to your qualifying day on four. Again, it's a 2 pound minimum for this day. Now, the third day, Group A gets to go out, and again, every scoreable bass counts 2 pounds, and they add day one and day three's weight and get your total weight. So it's a combined weight. And then the top eight anglers advance to the knockout round, which is a little different than what we're used to seeing, at our regular, here at home tournaments of your five bass wins, essentially. Um, and anglers who finish 9th through 15 get eliminated, and do not move on um, to the knockout round. Now, and then the fourth day, the second group goes out, and their day two and their day four total weights combined. Again, the top eight anglers advance to the knockout round, and then your 9 through 15 are eliminated. Um, and then they go to the knockout round. So 16 anglers make it to the knockout round, and then you zero your weight to start. So you go back to zero. Um, Every bass counts, 2 pound minimum still. The top 10 anglers advance to the championship, and 11 through 16 are eliminated. Um, and then your championship round, top 10 pros compete. You zero to weight to start. Every scoreable bass counts, but the weight goes up to 3 pounds. They have to catch a 3 pounder or better to score. Um, the winner is chosen by the highest weight of the championship round. And what's different about heavy hitters as well is anybody in the group can win. I believe it's $10,000 the first qualifying day that they fish for catching the biggest fish of the day. Then it goes up to 30,000 in the knockout round. So you catch the biggest fish in the knockout round, you get $30,000. And then in your championship round, you can win $100,000 for the largest bass caught. So that's a little different than what we're used to here. It has been great coverage. Smith Mountain Lake, where they are this week, is absolutely on fire. There's still fish that could be pre-spawn. There's still fish from that are spawning. There's post-spawn fish. There's fish everywhere. And I guess the thing that really gets me is how well these guys, some of these guys have never been here before or never, stepped foot in this kind of area. And just watching the live and seeing how they break down and they're literally telling you how they're catching them and what these fish are doing is just mind-boggling to me as a weekend warrior and just a angler that can get out when he can. I don't think I could. They had 2 days of practice, I believe, and I don't think you could break down Smith Mountain Lake in 2 days. That's really, it's a huge lake. I mean, there's 500, I think 500. I don't want to say miles. I think it's something of 500 of shoreline, which is huge. It's 22,000 acres. That is a massive lake to break down in 2 days. And let's talk about Virginia and their weather patterns. It could be beautiful one day and then it could be pouring rain the next. I mean, these guys have to be able to adjust on the fly. And really, that's what makes them so good. Like, just watching them doing adjustments. Like here on Championship Thursday, they have not had wind besides the first day of competition. And they're getting wind on Championship Thursday that's blowing 20 to 25 miles an hour. So if anybody has fished Smith Mountain Lake and knows Smith Mountain Lake, wind plays a factor on how the fish react, how they bite, if they're going to bite good. It gets choppy, real choppy, but the winds are coming, 20, 25 miles an hour. So these anglers have to be able to adjust. And you're going to see, if you go back and watch this tournament, you're going to see the anglers that make the adjustments are the ones that are really high up on the score tracker, high up on the boards. Um, just being able to adjust. I think for the championship Thursday, you're going to have to adjust to the wind. You're going to have to figure out where those bass are sitting. That's going to be a key, and if the wind's going to affect the bass that much. I had the opportunity to go to where they were, their boat yard was, and kind of see some of the anglers. And here's the thing that I have to talk about. And if anyone from MLF is listening, or Major League Fishing, I was there to get interviews of the anglers in Group A on qualifying day one, which was Saturday. And I was very disappointed as a fan and as, a content creator that I could not get anybody to do an interview because they were dropping their boats, leaving, and I didn't get to talk to anybody. But I am very thankful. And hindsight 2020, I wish I was able to get my camera out and record what Drew Gill said. Drew Gill, awesome guy. Love, he stand-up guy. He took the time. I brought my brother with us, and he kind of told us about his day. He said, it was tough. I mean, he got some good bites, but you know, he likes the fishery. He's excited to get back out. He, he said it's a very good fishery. It's very healthy, which we all see that. So I'm glad he took the time to, at least speak to us and acknowledge we were there, because I know he had to get out and, clean the boat out. And that's another thing about this tournament. This tournament, the anglers aren't using their usual boats. They have to use the boats that are given to them, which I asked Drew Gill about this as well. He said it's difficult because usually on my boat, I have all my settings to, my equipment the way it's supposed to be, but he had to spend the first couple hours of the day trying to get his equipment set to the correct settings that he liked. And that just brings another challenge to um, just doing this event, because there's a lot of things that are different. Also, they could use, and I know I'm going to hear we may get some comments of people saying, I don't understand why they got to use, forward facing sonar all day. That's different than what the Bass Pro Tour usually does. They can pick a period and use their forward facing sonar. Also, that's different as well. Let me talk about, so there's two, 3 2-hour periods, or is it 3 hour periods that they're fishing. And they can get penalties in this league, whether it be for um, fish catch violation, which you let the fish hit the bottom of the boat. You could, there's a lot of things you can get a penalty for in this league, which is just, you can't cast for 2 minutes or however long it is. I kind of like that. I'm not gonna lie. It makes it more of a competition. But again, it's crazy to me just watching the live and watching the stream of places I know I have been. I have fished and maybe never got a bite, but these guys are coming in here, you know, throwing normally what us average anglers, or I would even say better than average anglers, are throwing at Smith Mountain Lake and getting 1 2 bites or skunked. But they're catching them cast after cast. Um, and if you follow the basscast.com, Brian is able to make it down to their boatyard and get some interviews. And from listening and, hearing the interviews and just seeing some of the baits that are being thrown, I'm going to be honest, there's some there that I'm kind of like scratching my head about, but they're catching them on them. Like, and, I'm going to kind of preferences. I don't like to fish up the river, the Roanoke River. So I guess normally I wouldn't think about fishing a frog, but these guys are wrecking them on a horny toad, a white horny toad, which I know there's going to be some guys on here that fish Smith a lot and be like, oh, yeah, if you're up the river, why not throw a horny toad? I don't know. I just don't really, it doesn't come to my mind. I think of Smith as a clear lake. Like, you're going to be, I throw a shaky head a lot, I throw a drop shot a lot, that clear water presentation. But yes, the river is going to play. Especially the pros had a lot of different, I would say, different kind of adversity thrown at them before they even got here, because anybody local here to Central Virginia knows we got a ton of like rain for 3 days straight. And what that does to the lake in the upper end, I know it brings a lot of debris. It muddies it up, and sometimes it takes a long time for the water to kind of clear itself up. So these guys had to, they can do some research on it, and what you see online or YouTube's is it's a fairly clear lake. So I know, most of the guys are going to think, oh, well, I'm just going to go down here. If we can use forward facing sonar, and we're going to play the minnow game. But what I really liked is watching these guys go old school. there was a lot of spinnerbaits that came out. There was chatterbaits that came out. And a lot of these guys are just going down the bank, old school style, and, you know, throwing a spinnerbait. Michael Neal was throwing a spinnerbait all day on qualifying day one, and he was whacking them. Um, it it really shows, you can be very diverse on Smith Mountain Lake, and be what or do what your strengths are. I think sometimes a lot of guys get caught up in the new technology and the minnow game. Yes, that works, but you could also go places in Smith Mountain Lake that your traditional, what we grew up fishing, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, crankbaits. I believe Nick Hatfield was catching them on a lipless crankbait, if I'm not mistaken, on Championship Thursday. He was casting a jig, catching them. He was also doing a little bit of minnow fishing. Um, so really, you can do a very diverse um, presentations, but it just shows me that you know what they were doing works, and it gives me encouragement when I go back out on Smith Mountain Lake. Hey, maybe I do want to try to throw a spinnerbait on bluff walls, or skip a spinnerbait under tree limbs, or under low-lying tree, maybe even throw a frog. I'm not a big frog person. I don't throw a frog a lot, but now seeing the pros come here, and just watching them make casts, and just seeing how they really manipulated their cast to, they know there should be a bass sitting here. They know that, you know, at any cast they can catch a big fish. Um, I think I think the leader right now on Championship Thursday is Jeff Sprague with a 6.2, and I believe that will hold. But again, it kind of surprised me that bigger fish weren't caught this week. I would think 8, 9, a lot of sevens and sixes, would have been caught. There were a lot of 4 and 5s caught, um, but it's just really cool to see, the pros being able to come back, or come to a place they've never been, and break it down. And when you're watching live and they're explaining, this is why, we're I'm fishing here. This is what I found in practice. You know, this seems to be the deal. And I really hope, Major League Fishing and maybe even Bassmaster sees the health of our lake, that it's super healthy, and they would want to come back to Smith Mountain Lake to do other events. I think not only did it help, you know, I think it helps other tournaments see this, and maybe they'll come as well. I'm thinking Bassmaster. They used to come a lot here for the Blue Ridge Brawl, um, but no, just seeing also seeing interviews of the pros that are excited to come back here. They want to come back here. They hope the schedules, that Smith Mountain Lake is a place that they come. Um, but overall, I had a great time meeting some guys, even though it was a short time because they had to pack up and leave. Um, it was really on my bucket list to meet some of the pros that I've kind of looked up to, like Jacob Wheeler, Mark Daniels Jr., really Drew Gill. He kind of set it off for the younger anglers. Just people I looked up to, and those guys that you watch their YouTubes and you're like, oh, I can't wait to meet them in person. And I will say, these guys are just like average people. Will they will come speak to you. They will, talk to you. I think I just caught them in a bad situation because they have the place they have their boat landing, or their boat yard. It was at a church, and the church was trying to have a service, and they were just trying to get in and get out, and maybe that's what happened. So I'm not here to, bash MLF for, maybe they had to do that. I don't know the situation. I wish it would be improved where, they could come out and say, hey, if you want to meet the anglers, or, the anglers are going to be at this place for like interviews, pictures, whatever, that they make that apparent in the next event that they have. Because it just felt really rushed and like the anglers didn't care, but I don't know if they had any other things going on. But overall, guys, if you haven't watched the MLF or Major League Fishing stream, I would encourage you to go back and watch it. There's a lot of good information. There's a lot of good, technique talks that the anglers are on the water and telling you exactly why they're fishing where they are. Also, go look at some of these guys' YouTubes, because I know Mark Daniels Jr. already has his practice video up. He had his travel log up as well. Dustin Connell also has a travel log to Virginia. Um, they give you some really good information. I think I learned a lot just watching Mark Daniels Jr. break down Smith Mountain Lake. It kind of gives me a really good, an idea, or kind of a mindset that I want to come out, next time I go fish it, and you know, just have fun fishing, I guess. Um, but to all the guys I met, I really appreciate it. You guys are class acts. Um, but guys, please tell us what you think. Do you think we should have another major tour come back here, or pro circuit come back to Virginia to Smith Mountain Lake, or heck, other lakes in Virginia? Guys, if you like this, reach out to us at thebasscast.com, and I would really love to see something bigger in the future. Maybe Bassmaster comes back and revamps the Blue Ridge Brawl. But guys, for now, I hope you guys have a blessed Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe, wear your life jackets, and guys, we'll catch you next Friday. Have a great weekend.